On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very exclusive treat. She's, in my opinion, the world's top online marketing expert, host of the record-setting podcast, Online Marketing Made Easy, speaker, and badass entrepreneur. Before building a multi-million-dollar digital course business, she worked with iconic brands such as Harley-Davidson and worked alongside the godfather of personal development, Tony Robbins. No big deal. She teaches online entrepreneurs how to build, scale, and create a thriving business from scratch. And she's making a massive impact, inspiring millions. She's just a juggernaut in all facets of life and a terrific human being. Please welcome the dynamic, beautiful, and brilliant, multifaceted, and abundant Amy Porterfield. How you doing, Amy?
Please do my bio for everything I do. That was incredible. Thanks so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
My pleasure. And I'm glad that you feel elevated. We probably could have chatted for an hour before we recorded, and we're both like, let's save this juicy stuff for the show.
Yes.
But as I was explaining, I'm a fan. This is so much fun for me. What I think is most valuable for the audience today is if you're not familiar with Amy, do yourself a favor, do a deep dive, check out her courses, her website, her podcast, her content, all that stuff. What I think is going to hit home the best today is we just have an unbelievable conversation. Before we dive in, we're going to get a little weird. You ready for me, Amy?
I'm ready.
What is your superpower?
Ooh, my superpower. I think my superpower is to find a way to be compassionate in every situation. You never know where someone has come from, what shoes they're walking in, what their background looks like. You just never know. So I can easily drop into compassion.
Oh, this is going to be fun in case the audience didn't realize that. So me too. And it's new for me. I've become very empathetic, almost to a fault, right? Where like, I want to genuinely see the good in everybody. And as my fiance likes to remind me, sometimes people don't deserve it, but
Yeah.
I'll never give up on humanity. You ever struggle with that?
Oh, amen to that. Yes, my husband is constantly telling me, Amy, that person's not a good person, or you really need to be careful there. And I'm just like, no, I think they're all good. And
Yeah.
it has burned me in the past, but that I'm not going to let that stop me from still leading with compassion.
Yeah, I agree. When's your birthday?
December 12th.
Oh, okay. Just curious because there's some
How about
along
yours?
here. I'm a Taurus, April 27th.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm excited to ask you this one because we've had some of the world's biggest celebrities, entrepreneurs, and moguls. And I always get a kick out of this. I think it's so important. For every day when you wake up, what are some non-negotiables that you do for yourself?
Ooh, yes. I'm a big proponent of the morning routine. And so for me, it's meditation, and I take it to kind of like the next level. It's meditation in front of a red light. And so I just, there's a lot of benefits of a red light, but for me, I don't know why, but it's a mood booster. And so I'm all about it. And then I also, this is going to sound a little bit biohacking, a little crazy, but I've got this mat and I forget the initials of it, but this mat allows you to feel grounded. There's like energy going through it. I know this sounds a little weird, but I lay on
I
the mat
love
for 10
weird.
minutes. And I've dealt with depression and anxiety since I was really young. So I have to be very careful. So getting my mindset before anything happens in the morning is so important. So I love to get up before my husband gets up, so I'm all alone. I love to do my meditation in my mat. And then, of course, I'm hydrating and getting my workout in. But those are things that are non negotiable for me because if not, I'm going to struggle through the day.
I agree with you 1,000%. I also like to get up really early to cultivate that edge. And also, it's like you feel like you have a head start on the
I
rest of the
do.
world, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. What time do you wake up?
I was about to ask you. So I've been even trying to level up even more now. As we get, I'm already thinking about 2023 goals and so forth. And I'll be honest with you, very humbly, we just signed a big book deal, which I'm really excited about. So part of my
Congrats.
plot, and I'd love to pick your brain about this, but part of my process is I'm going to wake up a little bit even earlier to kind of get that hour in each day. We'll start with that before the world wakes up. So long story short, I'm trying to wake up around 4 now.
I knew it was going to be something wild like that. Like there is no way I was doing that. 5:30 is usually my sweet spot.
Yeah.
But I love your plan to wake up and write. So when I wrote my book 2 weeks notice, I woke up every morning around 5 a.m. and for a first hour, if not a little bit longer, I was writing. It was the best time of the morning to do so. I'm my best in the morning. So that's how I wrote my book as well.
This is so valuable to me and anyone out there that's looking to write a book or really anything. So that's what I'm thinking. And to be honest, I'm going to start tomorrow.
Good.
That's
That's
yeah,
exciting.
it
A
is.
book
Yeah.
deal is a very big deal. Like you should be celebrating. Here's the thing. When I got my book deal, I celebrated for about 10 minutes. Then I worried, oh my God, that advance was huge. I got a huge advance. I got nervous. Can I deliver? Da da da. If I could do it over again, I would have stopped for a moment and said, Amy, you got to celebrate a little bit longer here. This is a big deal. So, did you celebrate?
That's really good advice. I celebrated a little bit, probably not enough.
Maybe you need to go back to that just before you start. Maybe tonight
Yeah.
you do a little celebration one more time.
I love this suggestion. You know what? That's something I'm working on in life is because I have that personality. I think you might have it too. Like, oh, go, 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 like accomplish. I don't want to move the goalpost back every time. I want to be more present and mindful and celebrate milestones along the way. Of course, you want to keep that edge, like I've never arrived, so you don't get complacent. But I need to do better of finding a balance to taking the wins along the way for sure.
Oh, so we are the same in that for sure.
Yeah. But I'll let you know how the book process begins, and I'm excited to start it tomorrow.
Yes, exciting.
Yeah, hell yeah. This is too much fun. So again, everyone probably knows your story, but if they're not, we'll give them some color. A big part of your story is you left corporate, right? And I guess so did I when I reinvented myself just a couple years back. At the time, what made you leave your 9 to 5?
It's so fun to talk about that transition because it was such a crazy, wild, exciting time. But I like to start out by saying, I worked for Tony Robbins. I mean, I had a good job. I got to travel the world with Tony and work on the content that he did at his events, like Unleash the Power Within and Date with Destiny. Like, I got to be a part of it. They paid me well, he treated me well. It was a great job. But more than anything in the world, I wanted freedom. And here's how that came about. Tony, at the time, I've been in business for 14 years now, so this was a long time ago. At the time, he was getting more into promoting his products online. So he brought in a bunch of internet marketers, and it was the San Diego office, and we sat around this big oak table. And if you know internet marketing, you'll know Frank Kern, Evan Pagan, Brendan Bouchard, Jeff Walker. I mean, he brought in big names in our industry. And they sat around the table, and he's like, tell me about what you do. Let me know about your business. Now, here's the humbling part. I was brought in to take notes. I was not even at the main table. And so here I was taking a bunch of notes, probably took the worst notes of my life because I just listened to everything they said. I didn't know how to create a digital course. I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know anything about building a business. But all I heard from their stories was freedom. Time freedom, financial freedom, creativity freedom, lifestyle freedom. These guys were calling the shots and doing it their way. And for the first time in my life, I thought, I want that. I don't know how they're doing it, but I want more freedom. And so that's what like kicked it in for me. I didn't want to be told what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. I didn't want to build someone else's dream anymore. I didn't want to hit the glass ceiling. All of this kind of came flooding to me. It wasn't until a year later, though, that I put some things in place, kind of got the courage to do so, that I ended up taking the leap and starting my own business. But it was that fateful meeting that I thought, I don't know how you're doing it, but I want a piece of it.
Wow, so much to unpack there and so relatable to me. And I think anybody really listening, right? Because we have a lot of entrepreneurs and so forth, but like it wasn't even like you were miserable, right? And a lot of
No.
people, yeah, a lot of people make this big pivot because they're miserable, whatever the case may be. You were kind of enlightened, like opened up. Wait a minute, like I want to live life my own terms, right? And if I'm busting my butt, which you were, why not do it for your own brand?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. If you can do this for yourself, it's a whole different kind of world. I often tell my students who are transitioning out of 9 to 5, I'll tell them the worst day of entrepreneurship, like things have happened. I was in a partnership, I got out of it, thought I'd lose my whole business. I've had some rocky times in the 14 years. And I always say the worst day in my entrepreneurial journey is still better than the best day in my 9 to 5. Like it's still better because I'm free. So that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm taking a note of that right now.
It's just
That's
so true. And those who haven't experienced before, they're like, really? Are you sure? I am absolutely sure. Would you agree with that one?
100%.
Okay, good.
And also, like, people are always like, what are you on, Craig? And it's like, look, I spent a very long time, not fulfilling my assignment, if you will. And so now it's like entrepreneurship, I think everybody knows, even the most successful out there, It doesn't go up in a straight line. There's going to be peaks and valleys, ups and downs. Sometimes you feel like you're on top of the world. Sometimes like, oh my goodness, this is so challenging. But also to your point, like when you're doing something that you love, you have a why, there's a vision, it's a purpose. It helps when it's for yourself. Like it's just a different type of gratitude, right? Like when I was on Wall Street a couple of years back, like yes, I'm healthy. I'm thankful for that. But it's like on Monday, it's like, oh, I get to do this all over again tomorrow. And that didn't really seem like a happy ending. But now it's like when there's obstacles, it's not a bad week or a day. It's just a moment. It's more of a challenge and a project. How do we figure this out to get further, right?
Absolutely. One time I had a mentor tell me that in entrepreneurship, you have to become a master troubleshooter. That's 90% of your job is troubleshooting what's coming your way. And at first I didn't believe it. I'm like, really? Is that really how it's set up? In my business today, every day I am troubleshooting. There's always some kind of challenge, but you're right. The challenge kind of fuels me. I think entrepreneurs have a different way that our minds are wired, that we're like, bring it on. You got a challenge, watch me solve it kind of thing. And you got to have that fire because the problems are going to keep coming. 14 years in, they're still here.
Yeah, and not to scare anyone, but like if you're considering making that leap and you're not okay with that in advance, that this might not be for you, right? Because you got to negotiate the price in advance for this stuff, and it requires sacrifice and it requires challenges, obstacles, adversity, and so forth. But isn't that so much better,
Oh,
right, than the predictable, like mediocre life? I mean,
absolutely.
we're only going to be here for a short amount of time, not to sound too spiritual and so forth. Based on what you said, I would love to ask you this because we're growing now rapidly and we're scaling. It's a really exciting time and we're hiring. And it took me a little while to get to this point where there's no choice. I have to delegate. But I had this mentality, for better or for worse, that nobody's going to wake up as excited about CLS as me, right? So I wanted to do all the things, wear all the hats until it got to a point where that's a scarcity mindset. You have to take some calculated risks, hire some good people, and really expand. I'm wondering if you ever had that challenge too when you really started to take off.
Oh, absolutely. Hiring is one of the most difficult things I do in my business. I just was texting with a good girlfriend who has a really amazing big business. I'm like, the hiring is going to send me under. She's like, I know, I deal with it every day. So it definitely is a huge piece of the puzzle. Also, I loved what you said earlier because Gary Vee says this all the time. No one's going to care as much as you do. No one's going to love your business or think about it or care about it as much as you do. And the next thing he says is, and you can't expect them to. The minute you expect your employee to care as much as you, you've lost it because they're not making as much money as you. They don't have the control like you do. They don't even have as much freedom as you do. So it's not fair to expect that of somebody else. Doesn't mean that they're not willing to do 110% for you. So
Sure.
I think at one point I expected everyone to care as much as I did, and I was resentful and frustrated that they didn't. The minute I made that shift, I thought, okay, chill out, Amy. This is your baby. It's not theirs, but they care deeply just in a different way. So that helped me kind of reframe it. Speaking of Tony Robbins, I think one of the best lessons I learned from him is that he always would say 80% of being an entrepreneur is your mindset, 20% is the mechanics. He said, I could teach you the strategies and the techniques all day long. None of it will matter if you don't get your head on straight. And so, what you do on this podcast and what you do in your business is so incredibly valuable because it's all about the mindset. 80%, that's almost the whole piece of the puzzle. And so, when I think about hiring, when I think about the fact that I can't do it all myself, and I also have to let go of the thought that I'm the only one who could do it the best. It's actually not even true. I have a team of 20 full time employees. They're all across the US, and some of those employees of mine can smoke me in certain areas and I know it and I love it. I want them to. I don't want to do it all, nor can I. So
Yeah.
it's all a mindset shift.
Yeah. How many employees did you say you had?
Just 20. I mean, just 20. That still feels like a lot. I don't think I want much more. I've never really wanted a huge business, but to do what I want to do, I need that team.
Good for you. You're thinking bigger and you're expanding. And I want to acknowledge you. That's awesome. And it's not easy to manage a team of five, let alone 20. But it's so powerful what you said, such a good nugget for the audience. It's a paradigm shift. And I agree with Tony. It's funny because whenever my one-on-one clients sign up and they're like, just tell me what you did, right, to blow up your brand so fast. And I'm like, we'll get the strategies, but are you available right now? Right?
Yes.
Like, are you a vibrational match for everything that's about to happen. And people don't understand, like, that's where you have to be. You have to be available before you could start talking X's and O's, right?
Yep, exactly. You get it. It's absolutely true.
I didn't get it overnight. It took me a little while. But that's the stuff that makes all the difference.
Absolutely. Like I have a business coach. I have a coach just for my mindset. Like I invest in the mental health part of it because I want to have a multi-million dollar business. So I want the things that most people want. I want the money, I want the accolades, I want the growth in my business. Of course, I want to impact as many lives as possible. That's a given. If I want all that, then I've got to check in with my mind and I've got to make it a priority.
That's it. That's the most important investment we can make, right? People talk about being physically fit, and I'm all about that. We're in the Chicago Marathon last week, but more
Yes.
important,
That is insane. I don't know
thank
many
you.
people who can do that.
I love marathons. I got into it a couple years ago, ironically, because of the mental component. I was so fascinated by it. But what I was getting at is staying mentally fit is the key. And like mindset is the key to life, right? Like if you're not available, it doesn't matter the perfect strategies or any of that stuff. You got to be in the right frame of mind, the right frequency, the right vibe. And it's funny because when you're in that vibe, right, and you're that vibrational match, all of a sudden things that you don't even expect or see coming start to come into your life because
Yeah.
you're closer to that, whatever you want to call it, energy field, quantum, vortex. But when you're, and also like if you're not feeling good, it's feedback. It's your frequency is low and you're a little further away than you should be. And at that point, even the best strategies in the world probably aren't going to help you.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah. One thing I was really excited to dive in with you today, Amy, is clarity, right?
Mm.
And it's like people often I see don't get started because they're waiting for the perfect clarity. I'm a believer in that clarity follows action. You have to try some things, get your hands dirty, throw some spaghetti at the wall, and then it will begin to come to you. I'm really curious what your position is on that.
I always say I am an action by action kind of girl. And I
Yes.
tell my students this all the time, but you're never going to have it figured out if you don't get in the game. Stop standing on the sidelines. And the sidelines are so very comfortable, so very safe. And you're right. People could say, well, I'm just trying to get clarity. I need to get the answers. I need to do my research. I need to make sure I'm ready. You're never, ever ready to do this. Absolutely not. And so the only way to get where you want to go is what I say take imperfect action. That's the other thing. It's never going to be that good. If you watched me in my first 2 years of business, you would have never thought I would have had a multi-million dollar business ever. You would have thought I would have had to grovel for my job back for Tony Robbins because it was a mess. And so, but I kept taking action, and then it clicked. I had this opportunity about my second year into business where I kept going to conferences. I'm an introvert, so it's not very easy for me.
Same. And I heard that about you.
Yeah, yeah. People don't believe it, but believe me, this is being by myself, doing my own work. I'm my happiest, and so, and I get love when people cancel on me because I get so much anxiety right before we go. But anyway, I would go to these events, marketing events, and I would meet people and all of that, and I would push myself because I knew this isn't really working for me yet. But if I just take action and keep putting myself out there, I met Lewis Howes, who you know Lewis probably. And Lewis Howes was at one of these events. We started to talk, and he's like, do you want to create a product with me? And my very first successful digital course was a partnership with Lewis. That would have never happened if I didn't put myself out there and take action, even though I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So doors start to open when you get on the field. They will always stay closed if you just stay on those sidelines. And you have to ask yourself, am I really in the game? And what it looks like to be in the game is you're making mistakes. You are humbled on a pretty regular basis in the beginning. You are trying things that don't stick, and some things are working, but most things aren't. That's what it looks like to be in the game in the very beginning. So if you're curious to know if you're doing it right, if that's you, you're doing it right, my friend.
I think because I love you. You're so on fire. We couldn't be more aligned. There's so many things that I want to dive in on that. Wow. First of all, I agree 100%. Like 100% of zero is zero, right? So you have to actually try and get on the field, as you say, or get in the game. And also, I'm an introvert, which I heard about you, which I found interesting. But yes, like you have to be willing to take uncomfortable action, to look silly if need be. And a quote that I love is this: if you're not embarrassed with who you were a year ago, you're not growing, right?
Okay,
Like
I love that one. I've heard that before. At first, I was like, really? Because I don't want to be down on myself. And then I thought, no, you got to see the growth.
you have to, right? Because what it tells me is that I was gutsy. I had the courage to show up on social media 2 years ago with 300 Instagram followers and put myself out there, not afraid to look silly and start it up, right? And now I'm a lot more seasoned, polished, more experienced. But I think that's a good thing, right? It's never going to be perfect, as you attested to. As far as I understand, I'm not a father yet, but it's never the perfect time to have a kid. It's never the perfect time to get married, to
Right.
start a business, to run to do anything, right? You step into that, and the universe likes that. That's when they begin to open up doors for you and opportunities begin to present themselves. I think this is really big for the audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also, like, if you have that feeling, like it feels a little bit scary, that's usually a green light, right? It's like that butterfly. I don't know about you, but I live for the butterflies. I still get them like the night before a marathon. It's not my first because it feels like a big deal. And for the audience, like when you do feel that, that's usually a sign you're onto something big.
Yes, and it's a reminder that you're alive, you're human, you're making big things happen. I believe that you need to be uncomfortable in your business multiple times a week. Like if you're not uncomfortable, then you found a little safe spot that growth is not going to happen there. And
100%.
so I force myself to be uncomfortable a lot. I get on stages that I'm not comfortable getting on. I do interviews with people that I don't know and I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but I show up anyway. That kind of stuff makes a big difference.
It's the difference that makes all the difference.
Yeah,
And there's no guarantees in life, really.
so
But one
true.
thing that you can control is your effort, showing up, right? Leveling up, playing a little bit bigger. And that's usually when the great things happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the only negative I got going on is we don't have 10 hours to chat, but I have a feeling it's just the beginning of the friendship.
I agree. I can't wait to get to know you even more. I love your energy, and I could
Thank
listen
you.
to your fun accent all day long.
Thank you, Amy. There's so many places we could take this conversation. I want to be intentional. Um, One thing that you do so well, and I like to pride myself in that I do as well, is dreaming big, right? And you are a trailblazer. I like to tell everybody, like in my community, my membership call, like however you think that you want this to go, I would challenge yourself to even think bigger. I even like to be a little bit delusionally optimistic. I don't see a benefit in being realistic, right? It's just like I had a let me be honest. The Chicago Marathon last week, I had a very audacious goal, and I came up a little short. I'll be honest. I didn't hit my goal, but because my goal was so big that where I landed was still significantly better than any marathon I ever ran, right? Because I was thinking so big. But if I tried to be realistic and I came up short, then it would have been significantly lower. So I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on, and like what do you tell your community about dreaming really big?
Have you ever read the book The Gap and the Gain?
No.
Okay, so it's by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. And the whole premise of the book is to set big, audacious goals. But if you don't reach them, instead of saying, like, I was $100,000 short of my goal, but let's say you made $800,000, you have to look at the $800,000 and think, I just made $800,000. And the first time I did this, I made 100,000. So it's looking back at how far you've come versus how short you were on reaching that goal. And when I learned that way of thinking, it was much easier to dream really big because the truth is, I always set smaller goals for myself. I was afraid that if I don't reach these goals, then I'm going to feel really bad about myself. So my goals were smaller than they should have been for many years of the business I have today. And then I started to say, okay, if I can look at the gain instead of the gap, I'm going to free myself up to set really crazy, scary goals because even if I don't make them, I'll see how far I've come. And you literally did that with your example with the Chicago Marathon. You're like, I didn't reach the goal, but if I didn't set that big one, I don't think I would have even gotten to where I was.
Yep.
And I absolutely agree. I have a quick story for you. I recently
Please.
did a launch of one of my courses, Digital Course Academy, and we do 10 days of live launching and we sell this course. It's $2,000. And my goal, it was a multi-million dollar goal. And at one point, I thought, I'm not going to hit it. I'm going to be about $1 million off, about 4 days in. I'm going to be about $1 million off based on my numbers. I know my numbers well. So I'm like, I see the trend. So my business coach called and he's like, how's it going? I said, I think I'm going to be $1 million off, but still, it's a lot of money. So I think it's okay. I'm okay with that. And he's like, get back on the field. You have 6 days. Do not accept that you're going to be $1 million off because you're afraid that what does it mean if you don't hit your goal? So he said, get scrappy. Think of a new idea. Try something you've never tried before. And so I went back to my team and I'm like, okay, guys, we just stepped off the field for a moment. Get back on. What are we going to do? And we came up with this really cool, simple 30-minute intensive that we charged money for, which I've never done in my launch before. And we had 2,000 people sign up like that within 24 hours. And it converted or it had a show up rate of 80%, which I never see on my webinars.
That's
And
impressive.
it converted at 45%. And this is something that we would have never done if I wasn't like, if you didn't shake me, like, get back out there. And we were $100,000 off from our goal at the end of it. But you're right. I would have been $1 million off if I just said, you know what? It's a lot of money. I'm good. We're not going to make it, but it's okay. So you're right. You've got to set these big goals because you never know how far you'll take it.
That's it. You nailed it. This is great. And for the audience, grab a journal, run this back. Where do I begin? Right. But yeah, like, and also when you face a little obstacles or you didn't get the result you necessarily desired, it's a great opportunity to be resourceful, to be creative, think outside the box, right? And you never taken that approach before and
Never.
did that intensive and everybody showed up and then converted. Like that's awesome. Now you have that in the repertoire for possibly the next one.
Exactly. So now I have a new strategy that I will absolutely do again. But I think even more importantly, I I saw what I was made of. Like it's been a while since I've changed trajectory. What I've been doing has been working really well, so I keep doing it. And then all of a sudden it wasn't working very well. And now I remembered that grittiness that I have in me to be like, "Wait a second, we got to figure this out." It's been a while since I've had to do that. So I saw something new in me and I also saw something in my team. I've never respected them more in my life, and I've always loved and respected them. But when I saw them come together for this in 24 hours, they have a special place in my heart because it was incredible to see.
That's a good feeling. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Where do you get this grittiness from?
I want it bad. I really do. This is what I want. I want to be a success, just period. I want to be a success, whatever that looks like in my world. The other thing is that when I think about, I tend to cater to women more than men, but I've got tons of men in my audience. And when I wrote the book 2 Weeks Notice, I kept thinking of this woman in a cubicle that she was not getting paid enough. She's underappreciated. She never sees her family and she's miserable, but she has no idea there's another world out there for her. Like she has never thought about being her own boss. I was absolutely that girl until that one meeting with all those guys at the table. And so I get that grittiness from I've got to find her. I got to make sure she can find me and I can help her realize there's this whole other world out there where she could build a business and be her own boss. So every day I think of her. Like she gets me to be scrappy and gritty and just get in there and figure it out.
That's awesome. And that's a really strong why.
Yeah.
And isn't it so funny? Like most people just aren't aware that they have a choice. Even me, like, yes, I was a business owner on Wall Street, but I thought that's like where it ended. Like I started to like believe, like, is this it? Or question myself. And then I realized when I, maybe not a coincidence, at the beginning of the lockdown, had that spiritual moment. I was available for the creative divine downloads. And I was like, wait a minute, I could just take the tools that made me successful in different areas and apply it to something that I actually love and at least give it a shot. And for everybody listening out there, like you have a choice. And staying complacent or miserable or good instead of great, that's a choice, right?
It's absolutely a choice. I love that you brought this up. I had a team retreat this weekend. I brought everyone to Nashville. We hadn't seen each other since COVID, so it was
Oh,
really cool.
really?
There are some people on my team I've never even met in person. So
Sure.
we brought them all to Nashville, and we recently had a few people leave our marketing department. And I think everyone who left needed to leave, like they were following a new dream or whatever. So I'm always going to wish them well. But it shook my team a little bit. And I was telling them, okay, so we've had a few people leave the marketing department, which is my biggest department. And I said, okay, it could absolutely be a setback. You could be scared that you're going to lose your job. You could be scared that the team's going to be weaker now. You could be scared, what does this mean for the business? Or you could look at it like, okay, where's the opportunity here? What can we re engineer? What can we change? Where can you grow because there's less people in the department? And then the next thing I said was, you decide. I setback or opportunity. You decide. I can't decide for them. They have to decide. And I think about that for myself all the time. All right, Amy, this really sucks right now, but it doesn't have to. I get to make it mean whatever I want to make it mean. I think that's the most powerful thing about our brains. So you have to decide, is it a setback or an opportunity? But only you can figure that out.
You have this stuff down to a science, and it's a couple times now in this conversation you mentioned it, maybe didn't use the word, but perspective, right?
Yeah.
Two people can look at the same thing, one can see limitations, and you can see opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. So I think finding, who are you going to be? Are you going to be that person that's always looking for the negative, that always sees what's not going to work? Because there's a million things in my business that aren't going to work, if I'm being like really honest. Everyone's business things don't work, but I am absolutely not going to focus on that. I will only look for, what can we do with this? What does this make possible? That's what my business coach always says to
Oh
me.
my
I
goodness.
bring a problem to him, he'll say, what does this make possible? And it just like gets me out of the negative like that.
What an awesome paradigm shift. I was a guest on a podcast earlier today, and someone was asking me, and I gave a similar answer. I was like, I just choose to focus on everything that could go right. And I'm not available for all the stuff that can go wrong. Straight up. I
That's
mean,
so good. I'm not available for that. I'm going to start
yeah.
using that.
But I used to be, right? And then I used to like neg myself out, or not perform the way I like to, or not make big impacts. But then I made a choice that thoughts are random, thinking is not. And I'm going to be strategic on which thoughts I allow to take up real estate. And I'm just not available for the pessimistic thoughts, the negativity, or anything. It's only what can go right. What did your business coach say? How do you phrase it?
What does this make possible?
What does this make possible? So cool, right? Instead of being stuck, all of a sudden you start thinking of solutions, resourcefulness, creativity.
But that saying that's going to stick with me. I'm not available for that. I
Nope.
It's like a choice, absolutely a choice, like you said. But when you say you're not available, like let's say you ask me out for dinner and I'll say, "Oh, I'm not available." I'm not there physically, mentally. I'm not there because I can't be. So if you say I'm not available for the negative self-talk, I'm not available for all the setbacks that might be there, you are mentally and physically not there. What does that mean for everything else that comes your way? Those opportunities. I love that. Thank you for that. It's a gift.
Absolutely. 100%. And like, I'm not choosing to participate in any of that stuff,
Yeah.
right? Participate in the perception of negativity or what could go wrong or any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that that one hit with you. And it's like, I don't really meditate. I tried to meditate in the past. I know it could be better. I should use the word try, but I do find it challenging to quiet the noise and stuff. But one thing that I do every morning, and running is like a moving meditation. One thing that I do make the choice to every single day is I set my intention for the day on what I'm available for. And I've recently really made a commitment to just not be available for any negativity whatsoever, right? And only the optimistic side. And like, some people will not get it, right? They'll be like, well, but so I like to be realistic. That's on you, right? But I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you, but I choose to just live in this bubble of serenity.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is the way to live. Why would we want to choose anything different? And we're not saying that things aren't going to go wrong. I mean, that is life. But it's just, oh, now how am I going to look at that? So I don't live in this Pollyanna, like everything's good, everything's wonderful, I'll never have a bad day. I definitely have rough days. But again, I think being very disciplined in, I'm not going to participate, I think it's very powerful.
Bang. Love this. This is gripping stuff. You mentioned your course earlier, the Digital Course Academy. For the audience listening, we have 3 million now. I'm sure they're interested. What exactly does that entail?
So I created Digital Course Academy many, many years ago and have updated every year. And it's a course that teaches you how to create a digital course based on your knowledge, your skill set, and your insight. I believe everybody has a digital course in them, something they could teach. And then I teach people how to market it. So I have a very specific model of how to market a digital course. And in my business, I've created 8 successful digital courses and generated over $70 million with courses. So I know a thing or two about what works and doesn't. And everything that I do in my own business to sell my courses, I teach in Digital Course Academy.
Hell yeah. And for the audience listening, like in case you were curious, I'm very intentional with who we surround ourselves with. She's awesome. She's on fire. And probably most importantly, she has proof of concept.
Yeah.
right? I would
Definitely.
argue that there's no one better in the world right now, or that's more on fire in regards to this. And I also agree with what you said, that everybody has a course inside them. What's that quote? Like, don't die with the music still inside you. Something
Yes,
along those lines.
it's so true. You know,
Yeah.
some people will come to me and say, "But Amy, I'm not certified in this or I'm not an expert in this." And what I tell them is, we're not looking for the expert of all experts. You don't need to go back to school or get certification or anything like that. You need to have gotten results for yourself or for somebody else. And you need to be willing to teach how you got those results. It's the 10% edge. You're at least 10% ahead of those that you are going to serve. And when you look at it like that, you're like, oh, yeah, I know some things that other people would love to know. Like you just ran the Chicago Marathon. There are tons of people that would love to know exactly how you did it. They don't care how everyone else did it. They want to know how you did it because they like how you think, how you
Yeah.
show up. So that could be its own digital course. So I think people overthink it a bit too much and don't even realize they've already got a digital course right there in front of them.
You nailed it. That's 100% right. Just go based upon some of your life experience.
Yes.
What makes you an expert is that you did it, right? You
Yes.
experienced it.
Yes.
And that's what qualifies you to talk about it.
You've gotten the results. People want to know how you get it. And most people think, well, I know this or I know that, but everyone knows that. They don't. You take it for granted when you know something really well that you could talk about in your sleep. Other people do not. So that's what I always tell my students.
I agree 100%. We'll land the plane with these final two nuggets. I was looking at your content as the whole audience should be. And I saw you say this somewhere, and it really hit home with me, talking about like niche and stuff like that. When you are for everybody, you are for nobody.
Yes. I learned that one the hard way. So when I first started creating courses, I created a course and said, anyone who wants to know about Facebook marketing for anything whatsoever, I'm your girl. And then I started getting questions like, well, how do you get more people in your door if you're a brick and mortar? I've never had a brick and mortar in my life. I could guess, but I like to only teach what I know. And so in the beginning, I told everyone I was for everyone, and I was miserable. I was overwhelmed by their questions. I felt like an imposter. And so when I decided to say, I teach people how to market information online, so digital courses essentially, right there I found my sweet spot. Not only did I get more confident in what I was teaching and doing, people knew to come to me. I sliced through the noise online. So you really do want to niche yourself because you're going to get lost in the sea of everyone online if you're very general and you're for everyone. It's the biggest mistake you can make.
Yeah, I love that. Be purposeful, be intentional, right? Like have a target, so to speak. And there's so many people out there in the world that can use you. So don't think like you're going to lose a big audience if you narrow down. Quite the contrary.
Yeah.
It'll turn into quality over quantity.
Absolutely. That's like my favorite thing that we don't need everyone to pay attention. We need a slice, a tiny sliver of the people online to pay attention. That's all you need. And
Yeah.
so niching yourself down will help you get there.
Yeah. Hell yeah. This is too much fun, straight up. I got to ask you this. You've grown so much. It's fun to watch, and you're just getting warmed up. In regards to like shedding old skin, or like maybe just distancing yourself from old relationships, people that I don't want to say you've outgrown because they always have the choice to grow with you, but people that you just don't have so much in common with as you
Mhm.
continue to grow and spread your wings and evolve. How do you handle situations like that?
You know, I've in the beginning when it started to happen, I really took it hard. I thought I was doing something wrong. Maybe I wasn't being a good friend. I would complain about it to my husband. And then I realized, wait a second, not every relationship or friendship is supposed to last forever. And even if I look in my work world, I had really good friends 5, 6 years ago that we are not connected anymore. And there was a recent situation with a friend that I tried to hold on to really tight, and I just knew something was off, and he brought it up. He's like, I just think it's off. It used to be so great and it's just off now, and I respected him for that. We've gone separate ways. We're different people now. And so I had to wish him well and I had to move on. I can't take it so personal. I just know that I'm not for everybody all the time. And I've had a few situations like that for sure. I can name like 3 or 4 of friends that I've lost touch with, I guess, but I know it's for the best. And I think you got to wish them well and move on.
100%. It's almost like it's not personally. You do you, all the best. I'm going this way.
Yes.
But I agree with you 100%. Like it's a different frequency that you're tuned into.
For sure. And if it feels sad for a bit, it's because you're human. You shouldn't
Right.
take it lightly. These are true friendships, once were at least. So
Yeah.
it's okay to feel bad in a moment. You're not going to die from feeling a little bit sad, but then you got to move on.
Yeah, and also like a little selfishly, like if you really want to continue to level up and show up as the highest version of yourself and make the biggest impact, you do that by shedding some old skin that may not resonate with the version of you today as opposed to 6 months ago.
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah. One final question. I always like to get the community excited about some of the upcoming guests who are really excited about you. And we always do one question from the audience specifically.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
yeah, hell yeah. And this question was this. What life or business lesson did you learn in 2022 that you will take with you for 2023?
Ooh, life or business lesson
Juicy, right?
yes, that I learned in 2022. I learned this year that a no doesn't mean that the door is closed forever. With this book coming out, I've had to ask a lot of favors. I've had to put myself out there for people that don't even know me to see if they'll review my book, if they'll do this, if they'll do that, promote it. And I've gotten some no's and it's like stings a little bit. And then I think, Amy, you've got to ask. You never know what's going to happen. So no's don't mean that the door is closed forever. And I've learned that this year. I think it's going to make me stronger for next year.
I know it is. And also, like a closed mouth doesn't get fed, or you can't lose
Yes,
what you don't have. You have to try,
you
right?
have to.
And you have to put yourself out there, and you never know.
You never know. So I think a lot of the asks that I'm making, I've gotten so many yeses, but I think some of the no's could even come back to be yeses over time. So I'm going to keep a good vibe around those.
I don't think anybody would bet against you.
Well, thank you, my friend. This has been such a fun conversation. I'm so glad we got to connect.
Honestly, it was awesome. It's just the beginning. Like I said, the community is growing. They're very loyal and engaging. What's the best way for all of them to support you, Amy?
Thanks for asking. So, I have a book coming out called 2 Weeks Notice: How to Find the Courage to Quit Your 9 to 5 Job and Make More Money, Work Where You Want, and Change the World. So, if you would be so kind to pre order my book, it would mean the world. Authors, that's what we bank on, these pre orders. So, the booksellers know that the book is important. So, that's what I would absolutely love your audience to do if that is of any interest to them.
Sold, done. And we'll put it all in the show notes and so forth. Consider it done. How can I personally support you?
Oh my gosh, just having this conversation with me, I'm walking away with some nuggets that I will absolutely use as I've got some really big goals that I got to step into. So it has been such a pleasure. I can't wait to chat with you again.
Hell yeah. And hang out for 1 second. Amy, I want you to know you're the definition of perspective, reinvention, and growth from taking your life experience and spreading positivity, light, and deep truths. You're a true visionary, role model, and beacon of hope for anybody coming up today with big goals and aspirations. I could personally guarantee your best is yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and leaving your mark on this world. So much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by and dropping these priceless nuggets today.
Thank you so much, my friend.
That was an awesome
Oh
conversation.
my gosh, you're so good. That was really fun. Thank you so much. And thank you for doing the work to have a great interview. I could tell you spent some time with this, and most people don't. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I received that. Thank you so much. And to be honest with you, do it on you was a treat. This was great. I sense a lot of alignment. Is there anything at all else I could do to support you?
No, but I'm going to start following you on social and let's stay in touch in the DMs. And let's just make sure that I hope that we find ourselves in the same place in the near future so I can give you a hug.
I think it's inevitable. Let's definitely stay
Yes,
connected. I'll shoot you a message in a little bit on Instagram
perfect.
and we'll go from there. And congrats on the book. Good luck with it. And I know you're going to crush it. And I'm excited to read it myself.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to meet you. I'll talk to you again soon.
Cool. Have a good day,
Bye, friend.
Amy.
You too.
Bye-bye.